Yesterday I made a video showing that I speak Spanish and explaining why and how I learned, but of course only other Spanish speakers understood me, so I figured I would tell that same story in English. Because I grew up idolizing my father, wanted to be just like him. He was bilingual, so every time he went out to a restaurant or we went places, he would speak Spanish, and I remember thinking, one day I'm going to be able to do that. One day I'm going to be like that. Because my dad had grown up in Arizona, he'd spent time around the border, actually done some time in a Mexican jail, and at one point he lived under an assumed identity. Because he got caught selling a number of pounds of marijuana to a federal agent. When they raided his place, they found even more. He managed to get bail, and he went on the run, and since they were looking for a white guy, Philip, he started living as Latino Philip. Because he had dark enough skin and a good enough accent, he could get away with it. So Philip crossed and became Philip Ortega. I actually still have somewhere a shirt that has Ortega on the back from his softball days when he was still living under that identity. Anyways, after about 10 or 12 years of living as Philip Ortega, staying out of trouble, he was growing weed in his backyard in his farm in Virginia. They found the weed, they hauled him in, they ran his fingerprints around his name, realized Philip Ortega was really Philip Crossan. So all of a sudden, 5 sticks of weed is not such a big deal. The 5 pounds or 50 pounds they found out in Arizona was. But the crazy thing is, it had been so long and the evidence had been lost and the agent had retired, he got more time for those 5 plants of weed in his backyard than he did for all the weed they caught him with in Arizona, which blows my mind. Anyway, so growing up, I wanted to learn, and I was like, Dad, will you teach me? He just never made the time or never took the interest or said he didn't know how. So when I got to 8th grade, I thought, okay, fine, I'm going to learn Spanish. Problem was my 8th grade year was really my worst year. It was the first time I started getting bad grades, just didn't care. Ended up getting a D and having to go to summer school. And this was a blessing in disguise. Because I went to summer school and my teacher was 22 years old, fresh out of college, drop dead gorgeous, and she said, we can talk about anything you want as long as we talk in Spanish. So I felt really, really motivated to learn Spanish, and I did. And after that, I did 3 years in high school or 4 years in high school, did everything I could, and then I worked in restaurants, and I worked construction, and I got into the drug game. When you're the guy who speaks Spanish with the guys who have the connector or the plug, kind of helped me out a little bit. I remember this one guy who'd been selling coke for a long time. He was like, bro, I've been in this game for like 4 years. How are you getting better prices than me? I said, because I go in, I buy him a beer, I hang out, and we're good. It just was an interesting thing. Anyways, that was both the saving grace, because I love that I can speak Spanish today, but it also got me into a lot more trouble than I would have been otherwise. Because if I hadn't had that easy co-connect, if I hadn't had those situations, I probably wouldn't have ended up where I did, where I would have just found some other way to screw up my life and cause so much harm. I'm not sure. Anyways, I'm grateful today que hablo español, and I don't know, I'll find some application for it as I keep going.